Salute, Nick family. Welcome to the Queen's Court. I'm your host, Stephanie, aka Queen. As always, we got a lot to talk about. We'll go over last week's games. We'll preview this week's games. We'll do our OG check in as we've been doing pretty much every week. We'll talk about some trade targets, though. If you've watched us, me, Tony, and Jay Boogie on Knicks and Bruises prior to this, I think we covered it all there, but we'll see if there's any meat left on the bone, as Ron of Still Nick fans um, would say. Let's bring in the panel: Jeff Clafter, Dope Soul Sports Talk; Tony Crone, Knicks and Bruises; Aj, Dope Soul Sports Talk. How are you guys doing?
Peace,
Super.
Queen. Salute, panel.
Salute. Always a pleasure
Chat.
to be hanging out and talking to Knicks.
Yeah. Salute to the chat: Shot Powers, Michael Sharon, Frank Matos. I hope I got that right. Mega. Julu Caesar rocking with us 2 shows in a row. Geraldine MacGyver, First Lady, appreciate you. J Tap tapping in, appreciate you. Two Knicks chicks,
Yeah.
appreciate you. We're having a ladies' night show that'll be Wednesday, 7:30 on Dope Soul Sports and Knicks Talk. So for those who like the all female panel, this Wednesday, 7:30, come check us out. Me, Lady and the Chef, Christine Willett will be there. Ebony from Venture Sports Network and Nick of Time, and still waiting to hear back from Tsunami. All right. All right, let's get into it. This is my favorite view. With us at the top of the slides. I love this. All right. Before we start, MBK family of shows, pregame, postgame, the shoot around with Simeon Russell, creator of the show, the NBA wrap up with Ron of Still Nick fans, the controversy with Josh, aka Uncle Fulio, the Losers Lounge with Tony Crow of Knicks and Bruises, live shows and videos by International Andy. All right, I'll let Sim give y'all the surprise when it comes to Andy. Queen's Court with yours truly of Dope Soul Sports Talk, and again, special programming and events by Sim. There should be something coming out real soon. Um, you guys gonna you're not gonna want to miss it. All right, let's get into it. We're 26 and 17, so we had a 3-0 week. I'm not including the Orlando game because we had a show after Orlando, and that was covered last week. The Knicks are fifth in the Eastern Conference. We're on a 3-game winning streak. Um, we're ninth on the season. We're ninth in offensive rating, 12th in defensive rating, seventh in net rating. Our last three, meaning this week since we last met, we're 17th in offensive rating, second in defensive rating, and second in net rating. We beat Houston, Washington, and Toronto. Against Houston, Randall had 31, Hartenstein had 11. Hartenstein is just killing the boards. We'll talk about his potentially missing a game or so. The Knicks shot 44.8% from the field, 35.1% from three, 82%. I think the Knicks are like top 10 in free throw percentage since the OG trade. I'm not sure why that is. RJ Barrett and Quickly were really good free throw shooters. You would think it would get worse. Washington, we struggled more than I thought we should have. And it just, shout out to Washington. They've only won, I think, 7, 8 games, and they came in and it gave us everything we had. Brunson had to score, I believe it was 21 points in that fourth quarter to secure the win for us. He had 41 for the game. Hartenstein has 17 rebounds. We shot 45.3% from the field, 34% from three, 34.2, 84.6% from the free throw line. And then Toronto, the emotional return emotion of Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett, emotional for them. Maybe it was emotional for the Knicks players, emotional for the fans. Some of them at least. They gave us more than we can handle, about as much as we can handle in that first half, but we pulled it out 126 to 100. Brunson with 38. Randall had 10 rebounds. We shot 54.5% from the field, 35.9% from the three-point line, and 80% from the free throw line. I'm not even sure I've seen 3 games with the Knicks shooting over 80 percent. All right, we'll talk about that later. All right. So let's just start off with the usual question: who or what stood out for you this week? Jeff, Tony, Ajay, and then we'll mix it up.
I think what stood out for me is that middle game we were without Josh Hart. And so I think the Josh Hart effect is a little bit more pronounced than maybe we think about, because he's not a big time scorer. He doesn't really have, he's not a great 3-point shooter, but he does a lot of the little things that help a team win. And we certainly missed his bench production when he was out. I think that definitely had something to do. I mean, that game was so frustrating for me, just because, I knew it was a back-to-back, but it's like all the starters were playing 40-plus minutes, and it's like, man, this is the Wizards. And, if it wasn't for Jordan Poole just, deciding that he'd rather help his teammate up instead of play defense, giving us a 5-on-3 and then having that wild 3-point shot. I don't know what that was. Or that wild pull in a 3-point game. And, that might have turned out different, and that would have been a really ugly loss. But I don't believe in moral victories, so I don't complain about ugly wins. So that's how I feel about it. But I was actually super excited about the second half against the Raptors. I was glad to see that the Knicks just took care of business, even with iHeart missing most of the second half with a bum ankle. Precious Achiuwa, I guess he heard me complaining that he didn't have a skill set, because that man came to the ball game. That was the Precious Achiuwa revenge game. I mean, 9 out of 10 from the field, crushing it on the glass. Big rebounds in that fourth quarter. Just really good performance from Precious. I was really happy for him and happy to see that. And and just have us have a runaway game where that was really impressive to me. So it was a good way to cap that off and get to 9 games over and just a feel good week. Still feel like it's the calm before the storm, though. I gotta think a move is coming, and hopefully sooner rather than later.
You made it, Queen. Oh. But I got it. Yeah, I gotta go Jalen Brunson for sure. I just checked just to verify, because I thought he was gonna be Eastern Conference Player of the Week again, considering we missed the game, we lost the game without him, and then he comes back and he shows again his true value. Captain Clutch, shout out to Print Jurisdiction, shout out to Sim, because I mean that's who he's been. Clutch. When we need a bucket, he goes and gets it. He takes over when we need him to. Ever since Becky Hammond made them comments, I feel like he's been on a tear. He looked like he was gonna get snubbed from the All-Star. He still only made like 6th place in votes, but I think he's gonna get in there. Because the recognition is coming. You know what I mean? Like, you're hearing more and more people fix they tone with Jalen Brunson, and he's our closer. So and he showed his value again. All 30-point games, right? All 3 games.
I believe so.
Yeah, he's just moving up the rankings in all-time Knicks point guard. So
not only that, he was at 38. He had a chance to go for 40 for back-to-back games, and he passed the ball to Randall. And that last possession before he came out, I thought that was pretty.
And that got Randall over 30 to make them both have a 30-30 game. So just to show the unselfishness, I could go for 40, or I could have me and my teammate both surpass 30.
Right.
I'm gonna go to my teammate.
Yeah. Ajay, what stood out for you this week?
Man, a lot of things
in the chat. What stood out for you?
What stood out for me? First of all, hit the like button. Y'all know the channel's been demonetized. We got to show support. Show That's YouTube right. That we are following NBK. That we stand with NBK. Let's hit the like button and let's show that we coming in full force. Man, a lot of things stood out. I mean, not just the 30-30 special we got from Brunson and Randall. But the Precious Achua double breakout game, and Julius Randle, by the way, that was a triple double on Saturday. Brunson, I mean, there's nothing else to say about Jalen Brunson. I mean, that guy is a stud. He's a superstar. He's small, but there's nothing they can't do anything to stop him. I mean, he does whatever he wants on that court. So, the defense, we still, the one little negative, we still have those droughts and those defensive letdowns. But overall, when we get it all together, we still able to pull together and win games. We're still able to do that. That's what else stood out to me. Oh, of course, the Raptors game, which was, I'm sure you're going to talk about that a little bit more, Queen. The emotional return of RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly. I mean, two guys that we honestly, we probably felt, these guys were going to spend their career here, even though, I mean, we're so used to them, in recent memories. This is the Knicks, Randall, IQ, and RJ and Mitch. That's like the core. So they got rid of those two guys. But what else stood out to me? I mean, the offense has been picking up. We've been doing great on offense, even though like I said, the defense been lacking, but that hasn't stopped us from winning games. And we are one game away from being 10 games over 500 mid-season. I don't know the last time that happened, but we're looking for change. We're looking to beef up the two guard. We're looking to, of course, you always look to improve, but when you step back and look at the big picture, the New York Knicks are 10 games over 500.
And going on a long, continued home stretch.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's fairly to say, like, I mean, we have a better record than Brooklyn, so we should be able to beat that team. Not calling it out yet, but that would put us at 10 games over 500, which is amazing, considering where we were just, not a short couple of years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about it a little later in the show. Maybe having to go into that matchup without without Hartenstein. Any particular player stand out for you? Who would you want to put the spotlight on? I know you said JB, Ajay. Any particular player stand out for you this week, or not really? Same usual suspects.
Well, I mean aside, I'm sorry, Tony.
No, go ahead.
Aside from the usual suspect, I wanna point out that Precious Achua can play. Okay, he's not a pushover. He's not a guy you could, if given the time and the opportunity, he could produce. I mean, he probably not going to be consistent, but if he gets the minutes, he could be a solid backup for Julius Randle. That, before the trade, that's something we were all looking for. Like, Julius Randle need a backup. We need a solid backup. But in his case, I think, now with Isaiah Hartenstein being out, we know Tom Thibodeau is going to be playing him at the 5 more. So he's going to be on the floor with Randle a lot more than probably we want to see. But nevertheless, he could be a solid backup at the 4 position.
Any concern that this breakout game came against his former team, and he was, where you're motivated to do well, and that this may not be something that'll continue?
There's always a concern of that, but Queen, when this trade just happened, I pointed out that Precious Achua could be a backup, and I'm not saying I called it out or whatever. Like, this could be just a one-off game, and then he goes into oblivion again. But he's a decent player. He's not a starter. If you think he's going to be starting and holding it down for a whole season, you're sadly mistaken. But he can be a solid backup. He could give you a solid, 15 minutes, 17 minutes a game, and, without too much of a drop off.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's always that concern, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, listen, OG Anunoby didn't have a like a 30-point game playing against his old team. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So it could just be a random game. It could just be, I I don't know. I mean, Precious is one of those guys. Like actually, OG's the same way. If you look at their face during the game, you have no idea whether we up by 20 or down by 20. You'll have no idea because there's like no really expression on their face. So you can't really tell if he was really emotional, if he wanted to prove a point. But that's always a concern. But let's just wait and see. Because with iHeart out or hurt, even if he's playing, I'm hoping Tibbs play him limited minutes. We're gonna see a whole lot more Precious Achua, and hopefully he could produce. Because once you gain Tibbs' trust, you're gonna get some minutes. So
All right.
I think
Anybody else? Go ahead. Tom.
I think the same level of concern you could have for it being against Toronto, you could also have the same amount of hopefulness that he found his niche and what he needs to do on his team. So I you know what I mean, I feel like it could go either way. You know what I mean? Everybody has mentioned, even like the Toronto fans have mentioned, like, all right, he has the talent, he has the ability. It's really about consistency with him. And it's really about doing it on a night in and night out basis. And then that's something that Tibbs teaches. So if anybody's gonna get that out of him, it's probably gonna be Tibbs. It may take to the end of the year to really start to see it. You know what I mean? But nah, I think I'm confident that Tibbs will get the most out of him.
Okay. Anybody else that stood out for you, other than including the usual suspects? Any?
Always got to mention Hartenstein too, but he's kind of been a usual suspect at this point.
That is true. Have anybody noticed a little drop off in Randall's play from when he was on that heater? And I just felt like, this is, when he was on a really, really good stretch. And if you have, are you concerned about it or not?
The biggest concern for me was his lack of, like, we didn't see that in the Orlando game. That was the one that I felt like was concerning. You know what I mean? Brunson was out, right? We needed him to kind of take that leadership role, take that initiative, be that guy that night. And he was more than capable of it. I mean, you could really say, I don't think anybody could really stop him on a night in or night out basis anyway. But you know what I mean? That was a team you should have tried to take advantage of. And so that was the concerning part. But for the most part, the drop off is less concerning because I feel like his defense has stepped up in that same span. I feel like his decision making has, I guess you could go either way with the decision making because his turnovers has risen as well, but he's been way more of a willing passer in that same stretch where his points haven't been 30 points night in and night out. So
and speaking of that, Randall, the concern also, I mean, my God, these turnovers, they aren't getting any better, man. Like, and somebody mentioned on one of the shows, he almost had a quadruple double because I think he had like 7 or 8 turnovers in that game on top of his triple double. So like they have to, maybe he needs to pass less, Tony. I don't know, because a lot of those turnovers come in him trying to pass the ball. Like he's like a quarterback out there, man. He's throwing these things like 100 miles per hour. So maybe they need to adjust that a little bit.
I don't know. I think some nights he's gonna have 7. I don't like it. Don't, you know what I mean? Don't want it. But I'm not gonna say I like him passing the ball and making those reads.
Yeah.
Than taking a contested bad shot. 100%. I'd much rather him take that risk because we see where he, you know what I mean? He's a guy that can get you 10 assists on a given night. You know what I mean? So if he nips it in the butt, which he usually does, like it's usually a bad stretch, 4 in a quarter, you know what I mean? Ends up with 7. You know, you know what I mean? So it's really those moments he got to
The,
cut down on.
the thing with him is you hope and you keep hoping that the read comes in. It could be just like a split second so earlier than he's making a pass, and it can make a huge difference. You know, that split second, that 1 second, the defensive players is that much further, and you have more room to make the pass. Or you know what I'm saying? So it's just the read is a little slow, but hopefully he'll get it. You know, hopefully
Yeah.
it'll improve as the season goes on.
Yeah. I'm not really I'm not concerned. And by that, and I'm not saying that I like the high turnover. I just feel like there's certain players you're just gonna have to accept some things. And I think with Randall, we're gonna have to just accept that there's gonna be games when his turnovers are kind of high. I just don't this has been going on for a long time. I think that's just part of it. And we probably can go down the line and pick a player and just say, look, we're just gonna have to accept this um, about this player. How well, let's do the OG check-in. Let's do the OG check-in. It's been 11 games. We talked about him last week, but it's been 11 games now. The Knicks are 9-2 since he's been here. Have your thoughts changed on OG? Have you seen anything new, or it's pretty much the same as last week as advertised?
I think it's better than advertised, to be honest. Like the first week we was undefeated, right? Or we started off 5-0 with him or whatever. Honestly, it was a nice stretch, but I didn't feel like it was like a sustainable thing. But now I'm looking at a longer stretch and where, you know what I mean, where you said 11 games now.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta be like, I want to know, do you have the numbers defensively in those 11 games?
Actually, I
Because
do. We were going to
because
do a whole segment on it, but we can just transition right now. Wait, first, let me give some love. Let's give some love to. Let me see. Let me see if I can put it this way.
Shuttle.
DJ Shuttle, who's usually with us on Monday, but now he's live on OG on Instagram, IG, Mondays, starting at 8 p.m. So
all
you want to
aboard.
have him on in the background while you're listening to the show. That's cool. And then Fridays, he's on 108 Soul from 8 to 10. So just shout out to DJ Shuttle doing his thing. We appreciate you and we support you.
Amen. That's awesome.
All right. So this is Anunoby. We were 17-15 without him, 9-2. Our offense hasn't it looks better to me, but we're 15th in offensive rating, first in defensive rating, second in net rating. Our field goal percentage we're 18th, 3-point percentage we're 16th, and free throw percentage we're 4th. I don't know how that happened. But I don't know if this answers your
I mean,
question.
I didn't want to. I just didn't want to speculate. So the
Mhm.
fact that you defensive rating, that's where I was going, because I wanted to. I was gonna say, like, we've had how many games where we keeping teams under 100 points, at 100 points. You know what I mean? 104, where, you know, a few weeks ago, me and Sin was having this discussion because the Knicks was scoring 120 something. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
giving up, you know, a lot more points. And I was saying I didn't see how we would get back to where we were defensively, and that was around keeping teams to 115. Now
Mhm.
we literally keeping teams to close to 100 points. It might, like, I know we had like 4 or 5 games under 100. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? So like that's what I see. And it's not just his ability individually, but collectively, like his switch ability. You know what I mean? So it's not like you got to put him on one guy all the time. The fact that he's able to switch from the guy that is killing you in that moment. You know what I mean? Oh, the big is hot. All right, go ahead and move over there and take care of that business. Oh, the point guard's a threat. All right, we're gonna get you some possessions on the point guard. So I feel like I didn't see his impact being that big. Like that's a huge jump of where we were defensively, what we were giving up to what
Mhm.
we've been giving up in these 11 games. So to me that's crazy, and it seems sustainable. Like it seems like we're in a comfort level now. You know what I mean? Like it didn't seem sustainable when we was scoring 120 something points, 130 points. All right, on a given game, sure, but we was doing that for a little stretch, and it felt like that's what we were going to need to do to win. Now, I feel like we could win defensively, and we could probably sustain some of these droughts, which still are happening. You know what I mean? 3 minutes per game where we not scoring, and maybe they're not scoring in in 2 of those 3 minutes. You know what I mean? So yeah.
What's nice about this team is we need something on that second unit. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not even talking championship right now. I'm just talking about where we are right now in the regular season. They have the makings of we're already a really, really good team, but the makings of a championship contending team with a few more pieces. This defense, I mean, OG is just one person, but he seemed like he's just transformed everything, made it easier for, for everyone else. Hartenstein, remember how we was getting on him? How he was getting in foul trouble and he really wasn't a rim protector and, he just doesn't look good back there. And maybe I'm putting too much credit on OG. Maybe it was just a matter of time and he would have gotten here anyway. But OG being there has really Hartenstein looks better. Everybody looks better. And it's the little things. Like when somebody is driving and you make them pick up their dribble. That helps the defense. Brunson does that too. He doesn't get a lot of credit for his defense. Somebody's driving and he cuts them off and that helps the defense. OG will be guarding one person and his arms are so long. He trying to like reach behind and get his hand on the ball that somebody else is guarding, you know? So the defense of the Knicks is real. That's something we're going to be able to hang our hats on in the playoffs. But the shooting is better. The shooting is better. You got Devo, and Devo, we don't talk about him enough. What he's bringing in that shooting guard spot for us, the shooting, the ball handling, he just knows how to play. He just knows how to play. It's just as simple as that. So we got threats now at every position, including iHeart. You can't relax. iHeart get the ball. You relax a little. He's going back door. It's just the Knicks are set up really, really well right now. We got a nice flow going offensively and defensively, but we're shorthanded. So guys are playing more minutes than we would like them to play. And I know some fans have been complaining about that. But my question is, what's the alternative? Because to me, I feel like this is short lived. I don't think it's going to be like this for the rest of the season. And the front office knows that. But would you prefer to shorten minutes right now, even if that means taking some losses? Like what's the alternative to the minutes guys are playing?
Mm. Yeah, I don't think we got a choice. Like, number one, even if as a fan you believe we got a choice and somebody should be getting more minutes that isn't. I mean, if we know Tibbs, he'll give guys a shot, but as soon as things look flaky, he's going back to the substitution. Like he's not playing any games down the stretch. He's not like he got to wait until all the starters are taken out on the other team, and 2 or 3 possessions went by, and we still look like we dominant before he, you know what I mean, before he goes to that second unit or reserve unit. So I mean, or situational unit. So I think it's something we're gonna have to live with. And the best thing is hope that everybody gets and stays healthy. Because when everybody is healthy, I think that changes the minutes things for the most part. And then if we add that one more guy that we think we're gonna add, that'll help Brunson out at the very least with some minutes.
Jay Williams, you may not know Hartenstein is 7 feet. Or am I mistaken?
Too small. Too small.
Is he's not 7 feet? I always thought he was 7 feet.
I thought he was too.
Well, somebody check that. But I thought he was 7 feet.
He don't play small.
He's 7 feet. Exactly. 7'0".
Yeah,
He's
he's
small
7 feet. So yeah. Any new insights from the team this week? Watching this team, did you learn anything new? New about them? Anything excite you? Anything concerned you other than we didn't even answer the question about the minutes. Like what's the alternative? What would you like to see?
Queen, like Tony said, if you know Tibbs, there is no alternative. He'll run these guys to the ground. And I not in a bad way, but that's just what he has to do. If you got guys on the bench, he'll put them for a few seconds. They're not producing, they're going right back to the bench, and he'll bring Brunson. Sore knee, sore ankle, don't matter. You playing if the guy behind you is not producing. So the alternative is whatever. But what's really going to happen is Tom Thibodeau's just going to play his guys heavy minutes. And again, we know Tibbs. Every game is, the regular season games to him is as important as the playoff games. So there's no drop off with him. Like he wants to win
what would you
every
like
game.
to see?
Well, what I'd like to see, I'd like for us to pick up a couple of decent backups that could actually give these guys a rest. That could actually.
They're working on that, Ajay. But in the meantime, what would you like to see?
Are they working on that?
Sure, they have to. Are you reading all of the rumors? The Knicks are trying.
But have you been? But I've been reading all the rumors, and they've been wrong. Like who rumored OG Anunoby? Like that was nowhere near anybody's radar, and then boom, it happened. Like, so those rumors, do we really pay? We don't know.
None of us know, but do you? Sometimes you'll read a rumor and you'll be like, "Nah, I don't think so." But all of the rumors about the Knicks trying to add pieces before the deadline, I can't imagine the Knicks are sitting back and looking at this team and say we're finished until the summer. That's hard. That's hard to believe.
We're gonna find out in a couple of days, in a couple of weeks. If they don't make a move, I wouldn't be surprised. Just like you, I'm hoping they're working on something. But if they don't pull the trigger on anything, and hoping to get somebody off the waiver wire, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But with what we have right now, you just hope that. For Jalen Brunson, especially at the point guard position, you're hoping that Deuce McBride could give us 10 good minutes. And 10 good minutes where, we don't have a 12-point lead that turns into a 3.5 point deficit. You know what I'm saying? So that's what you're hoping for. That's really the only position I'm concerned about. I'm really worried about. Is the point guard.
I think the problem is though Deuce isn't a point guard. I don't. That's just not who he is.
When you say that, you mean like a traditional?
Like he's a shooting guard in a point guard's body. He's not.
You would say the same thing about Brunson, then, right?
He's not. I mean, Deuce doesn't really dribble penetrate very well. I mean, he has trouble getting past his guy. And so he doesn't really create offense for other people. I mean, the two plays he had in the third quarter at the end of the third quarter against Washington had me ready to pull my hair out. He threw that one pass where it looked like he was playing for Toronto. And then he had then he tried to beat his guy off the bounce and he dribbled it off his knee. And so I like Deuce, and the shooting. He had a tough shooting week this week, but the shooting has been on an uptick, which is good. And defensively, he's terrific. Don't get me wrong. I love what he brings defensively. But, asking him to assume point guard duties is not something that he's capable of doing, at least not that I've seen from him in the 2+ years he's been with the Knicks. I've never looked at him and said, yeah, this guy's a point guard. I think he plays off the ball pretty well. I just don't see him as a point guard personally. And so I don't really think we have that on this team right now when Brunson's not in the game. And that's why he's having to play so many minutes, because there is no real solution. And that's why Julius Randle's turnovers, I think, are up too. One of the reasons, because he's in that second unit and he's forced to play, make more, and be that driver, that engine, which what we found with Julius is when he's at his best is when he's on the floor with Jalen, and Jalen is that engine, and he just gets to play off of Brunson. And so remember, Barrett assumed some of those responsibilities too, not just quickly, right? Barrett would come in with the second unit and handle a lot of he would handle a lot of running the offense duties too. And so we'd have 2 or 3 guys out there that would really fill that role. But Josh Hart's not really that player either. And so we don't, and I guess Malachi Flynn might be, but I don't think Malachi Flynn has the trust of the coaching staff enough where he's going to get any. I don't think he's shown anything that says he deserves minutes even over Deuce. And I just said Deuce isn't a point guard, but he does things on the floor that make him worthy of at least some rotation minutes. I just don't think there's another player on the roster right now that is really that. I mean, I would say Dante is probably the closest thing we have to it, and we have him starting because Grimes doesn't provide that for you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can't say that that I disagree. And I hear those in the chat saying he is a point guard, but it depends on what you think about point guard. Listen, you can be a scoring point guard. Brunson is a scoring point guard. Dame is a scoring point guard, but those guys still know how to run the team. Those guys still know how to get others involved off of their shot making and the attention that they draw. Listen, in my opinion, he's not there yet, but I'm not saying he'll never get there. I'm just saying he's not there yet, which is why the non-Brunson minutes, the Knicks just don't do as well, and they need to, they need to address it. I think another thing that's I don't know if this is a new insight, is just how shorthanded we are. Just how the bench was only scoring 30 points as it was, and quickly was scoring 15 of those. RJ was running with that second unit. Now you got McBride, you got Grimes, you got Precious, who's, new to the team, haven't found his footing, to say the least. And you got Josh Hart, whose on-off numbers are really good. The Knicks are a better team, I think, both offensively and defensively when he's on the court. Somebody check me on that. But he doesn't look the same to me.
He just doesn't. He doesn't give you the scoring input. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
what he does is he generates opportunities. He generates fast breaks. He gets rebounds. You know what I mean? He affects the game in all positive stuff. It's just not going to be individual points. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So I think what's what's standing out is how much we need to address the bench. Like, sure, I want to upgrade, bring another star to the team, but I feel like if we can't do that, at the very least, we have to address the bench. So let me ask you this question. What do you think is a priority? Backup point guard, shooting guard, backup center. What do you think is a priority on that second unit?
For me, it's anything that can fill two out of the three roles, right? So it doesn't have to be a point guard, but if it's a guy who can facilitate and
Mhm.
create for himself and others, that'll help just as much as a quintessential point guard. But if not, to your credit, Jeff, the we have Deuce here who could play the position, guard the position, you know what I mean, and still be integral. So I don't think we necessarily automatically got to replace Deuce. You know what I mean? But if we add a wing who could create for himself and others, I think that'll help just as much. Um, the hardest thing to fill two roles for us, I think, would be a big. You know what I mean? Because if it's
So
a
that's the
big,
4-5 power forward center. You would prioritize. Okay.
no, I would least prioritize.
Oh, least.
Um,
Okay.
because it's only really going to fill one role. Like if we think Mitch is coming back, obviously we think Ihart's situation is short term, with the injury. I'm fine relying on Sims, um, just to be the body. You know what I mean? Like not
Mhm.
we know the input is not going to be there. Seeing what we have in Precious, running a little small ball. You know what I mean? Just if it's a game or two or whatever it is, until Hartenstein gets back. And then we could utilize that same theory, that same philosophy, in just getting Hartenstein some breaks. You know what I mean? Give Sims a couple minutes, here and there in game. Keep utilizing Precious. Um, my only concern was if the Hartenstein thing is long term, then that changes everything. Now we got, you
Right.
know what I mean? And when I say long term, I mean like 2 weeks. That's long term to me. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah. Ajay, where do you think the priority is?
I'm sorry. Priority. Okay, I was answering
Off, off,
somebody
so
on the
off the bench, would you prioritize a point guard, a shooting guard, or a big?
a point guard.
Or
First and foremost, the point guard. I listen, Jalen Brunson. He is our best player. He's our 1A. Julius is right up there, right behind him as our 1B. You got to protect him. You got to, and by protecting him, I mean, reduce his minutes as much as possible. You got to provide a decent backup that could give him a good 10, 12 minutes where there's not a huge drop off, where Jalen Brunson could rest and we're not losing the game. We're not bleeding points while he's on the bench. So that's the priority to me. You got to get somebody that could run the team. You got to get somebody that could distribute. You got to get somebody that could score a couple of points while he's sitting on the bench, that he doesn't have to only rest like 3 minutes throughout the game. Last playoffs, we all know what happened. Game 6, game 5, he played 48 minutes. Game 6, Tibbs probably said, you know what, I can't do that. Let's rest him a couple of minutes. Those couple of minutes is pretty much where we lost that game. Granted, it was very early, but those couple of minutes, we were up by 8, literally 2-3 minutes, we were down by 2-3, if I remember correctly. So that's a priority. I mean, we've had that priority. We needed that, since last year. So we really, especially if they knew they weren't going to re-sign IQ, that should have been a priority. Still is, in my opinion.
yeah, did you answer, Jeff?
No, to me, it doesn't have to be a point guard per se, but it's got to be a combo guard. It's got to be someone who can handle some point guard responsibilities and swing between the 1 and the 2. I mean, I don't think it has to be a traditional. I mean, I don't even know if there are traditional point guards anymore. I know we say that, but I think that shows our age when we say that. I think that there's there's just small guards and there's big guards now. But anyway, I think someone who like Malcolm Brogdon is a guy that comes to mind that would be ideal. I mean, I don't know what the price point on that would be, but if he's a guy you plug into the second unit, you can run the second unit. If you need to play him with the starters for a little bit, you can do that. If Jalen was out for a game or two, you could run him with the starters and feel comfortable because he knows how to run a team and he knows how to distribute and he knows he can fill those roles. I mean, obviously, if Brunson is out for any significant period of time, this team is toast anyway. I mean, the guy is playing at MVP level, so I mean, you can't plan as if he's got to be able to fill in long term if Brunson is out. But if you're going to say someone who in a pinch, either for small stretches, 5 or 6 minutes, or for a game or two, that's kind of when I want to see someone who can play either that 1 or that 2 spot. But I think if we had to, we could probably play OG at the 5 minutes, and if we needed to, we could bring Josh Hart back to the 4 for some reserve minutes and play small. Maybe some Randall minutes at the 5 if we had to until Robinson gets back, assuming Robinson gets back. If Robinson's not going to play the rest of this year, then I would like to add a 5 to the roster. But if he's coming back, I think we should just wait it out. And I think that the priority is definitely this team needs some dribble penetration in that second unit. We've got to get someone who can move the defense with the bounce and attack and also shoot a little bit, be a threat, to score. I mean, the bench wasn't great when IQ and Barrett were here. It's really bad now that they're gone. I mean, it's just an obvious weakness, and I don't dislike Quentin Grimes, but I think that he's got to be the piece that can net us the most, that can get us someone. It's just kind of like it was with Quickly and Barrett. He's not a bad player. He's just not the best fit for what we need right now. Right. And so I think we've got to find a combo guard who can. It would be great if Grimes could do that, but that's not in his skill set. He doesn't have the confidence to do that. He's just not getting it done. And I'm not sure there are a ton of guys out there who fit the bill right now, but the Knicks got to, keep looking.
Yeah. Most of who they're targeting seems to be guards. I think it has to be a combo, somebody that can bring the ball up the court, create their own shot, and get the defense in rotation and create shots for others. If you can find a 3 that does that, well, they might be starting. Like if you find a 3 that can do all of that, I just think so. When you look at the numbers, it's just a different. You can't even sit the starters for a significant period of time.
DeMar DeRozan.
I'm not mad at DeMar DeRozan. Let me wake up and we got DeMar DeRozan and Caruso. You talking about happy? Ooh. Ooh. Because when you think about it, I think we need 2 players.
So if you bring in DeMar, Dante goes to the bench?
He would have to. But DeMar, he would have to. He would have to. And I get it that, the flow may change, a little bit. The chemistry may take a hit. And it will. You just have to hope that they'll create their own chemistry, because I can't see DeMar DeRozan coming off the bench.
I mean, I could see them selling it to him to start, as far as not messing up chemistry. I could see them selling that to him, or him buying that, as being the veteran that he is, and the situation he's coming to. And I would think he's I have less concerns with him having a problem with it than a guy like Murray having a problem with it. You know what I mean? Just to for the initial trade. I think Murray's probably not hearing that. DeRozan, he's been through the ringer. You know what I mean? Like he understands what chemistry is, how you don't want to mess with it. You know what I mean? Like finding your way. And he's a guy that, yeah, like Caruso's not a quintessential point. You know what I mean? DeRozan's a guy you could run the offense through. Like he pretty much was the point forward in San Antonio. So he's more than capable of it. And you could argue that was one of his best years, just as a player.
But he's older now. You think he can still? He may have that skill
In,
set, but you think he can still take that type of
in the second
res-
unit, absolutely. In the second unit, like he's a guy that makes the right read. You know what I mean? Like he's not gonna force anything. Like he can get guys. He could get. I mean, I'm assuming Quentin Grimes is not here no more, but all right, he could get a whoever's playing with him, he could get them involved and find his own shot. You know what I mean? So he's not a quintessential point guard, but
Mhm.
you could run the offense through him, and he determines who gets what, who eats when, and it be efficient, especially a second unit.
Yeah, I think he would start. Maybe he would run him some with the second unit. Um,
You
somebody
definitely
said
stagger that for sure. If you add him, I mean, he would
stagger minutes.
he might start, but he's got to be the leader of that second unit, kind of like Barrett was. Have him stay in the game and because if he's in the first unit, he's not going to be getting the touches that I mean. You got Randall and Brunson, and I mean, OG doesn't require any shots, and neither does Hartenstein. So I guess but Barrett,
Yeah.
he'd be getting that Barrett roll of shots. I guess you'd say that Barrett window, you know, and and he's not the 3-point shooter that Dante is either. So I mean
No, he's not.
that would crowd the spacing in that starting unit quite a bit more. I would think too.
But I think you still have to respect him though. Like you're not like laying off of him in the key. I mean, he shoots a good percentage. He just
He's a
doesn't
good
put up a lot. He doesn't
exactly.
put up a lot of them. Maybe two a game. Doesn't put up a lot of volume. I'm not sure if teams are gonna just sit in the key though.
Nah,
And
no, they respect his shot. They respect his shot 100%.
yeah, um, yeah, that would be yeah, 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 um, yeah. It fit versus chemistry, right? Or is that the same thing? You don't want to. You want to get in players. The better players you get is going to take some time for them to mesh. If you want an easy fit, you bring in somebody who doesn't really demand the ball, doesn't really change anything. But if you're bringing in a Murray or DeMar or something like that, it is the chemistry is going to take a hit. Jeff, you were going to say something?
It's just like OG. You bring in a guy like Anunoby. I mean, he fits in seamlessly because he requires the ball zero. Like
Right.
and he shoots the 3-point shot from the corners extraordinarily well. If we can get him those shots, I mean, he doesn't have to think about that. He just, I'm open, I'm in the corner, I shoot it. Oh, I can cut to the rim and get a dunk. What he does things well, but they're all ancillary things. They're not any primary creation things. And so, but is Chicago really looking to? They starting to play well. I mean, they were up to like 8th or 9th in the standings. Are they really looking to break things up now?
But they're
I'm
not
asking.
going anywhere. They are up to 8th, 9th, but the ceiling on that team is not very high. And they are looking because you're gonna have to pay DeRozan. So they're gonna have to make decisions about the direction, of this team, or do they rebuild around Kobe White, who's having one of his um, best seasons. I know there was rumors about them looking to get rid of Zach Levine, but there's not really takers.
Nobody
So
wants that contract.
nobody wants that. Nobody wants that contract.
Yeah.
I think the Knicks need two players, but I don't think they need to be big name players. Like just say for example, the Knicks decide the superstar route, the all-star route, we're gonna wait to the summertime to see what shakes loose. Like we're not gonna go for the Murray, we're not gonna go for the Zach LaVine. We're gonna wait to the summertime, see what shakes loose. We're just gonna upgrade the bench. I think you need one bona fide player in that bench, and for the center position, who do you need? Like a minimum guy that can come in and and give you 12 to 15 minutes behind iHeart. Agree or disagree? Or you feel like we need something more behind iHeart?
No, I agree 100%. I'm of the opinion you could leave Precious there until Mitch gets back. Like I don't think the 5 is nearly a priority compared to the now. If Hartenstein is injured, that's different. Like if he doesn't, if he's out for a couple weeks, as Tony said, then that might change a couple things. But if he's healthy, we can roll with Precious in the second unit. We can roll. You could even play Sims for a couple minutes if you wanted to. I'm not crazy about that, but so I mean, if you're talking about for a month or so, I mean, until Mitch gets back, if it is that, then I think that's fine. So I think it depends on Mitch's timeline and the health of Hartenstein. But if you've got a healthy Hartenstein, I'm perfectly okay giving Precious 12 minutes a game for the balance of the season even.
I don't know, Jeff. From what I've seen from Precious, I just feel like I don't know. I don't know. I feel like what's his name? I think he's playing for somebody. I need like a McGee type. I need like Precious to me is just too up and down. I need somebody that sometimes he doesn't catch the ball. I don't know. I don't know if I would feel comfortable with the 15 minutes from Precious Achua. I don't think so.
Wait, Julius Randle is throwing a pitch at him. He's not used to it. Give him some time. He'll get it.
I was gonna say the same thing. If you notice when OG passes him the ball, he catches it. When even when Flynn passes him the ball, he catches it. I think a lot of that has to do with just being accustomed to his new teammates.
Okay.
I mean, Randall,
you're comfortable, Tony, with him as the backup 5 for the rest of this season?
I mean, if Hartenstein is healthy, yeah.
Yes, if Hartenstein is healthy.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Me too.
And Sims. I need them both. I need them both because all we need is 15 minutes between them. You know what I mean? To give Hartenstein a break. That's all we really need.
But why did those two players are on the team now, and Tibbs is not trusting them to give Hartenstein a break. Hartenstein minutes is up, so there must be something going on with the on-off numbers with Sims and Precious.
Sims, I agree. Precious, I think it does need time. Like you can't judge him based off of the short period of time and not really being adjusted yet. Sims, I agree, but we know Sims could hold down minimal minutes in a day-to-day situation. Like we've seen it. So you know what I mean? Like I'm talking about even less minutes than what he gave us last year in Mitch's departure or when Mitch went down. So I'm talking about 5 for him, 7 for Precious, or 10 for Precious, 5 for Sims. I think we could do that.
Yeah, I'm not sold. I'm not sold. And the Toronto fans let us know when he was traded here that he has games where he looks all world and he looks like he's going to become something, and he's just inconsistent. He hasn't really put it together. And I don't even see him as a backup 5. I see him really as a power forward.
I also think part of that has to do with his role being defined. right? So like a lot of guys, they could give you those off game, on game, off games in a pinch. You know what I mean? Just um playing a minimal role, but maybe you give them a definitive role, it starts to translate
Okay.
more permanently. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. 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 I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Because in my mind, I want a combo and a big. Spend most of the money on the combo. The big can be like a minimum guy, or or something like that. But let me just address my guy. Right.
Somebody out of retirement like Dwight Howard or something.
I don't know if the white can play 15 minutes. My mouse is getting stuck. All right.
I
Paris,
mean,
come on now. Murray is also insurance in case Brunson wants too much money next year. Are we
yeah,
serious?
yeah. Brunson getting paid.
If what's too much money for Brunson?
They just backing up the Brinks truck for Brunson. They ain't worried about that, and neither is he. Brunson
Yeah,
gonna get his money, and I'm not. That is the least worry on my mind is Brunson.
He's getting paid.
worst case scenario, they'll filter the money through Rick Brunson, give him a raise, and be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, you know what I mean?" They'd be like, "Dang,
Wait,
how Rick
Tony.
Brunson, how Rick Brunson getting more than Tibbs?"
right, right, right,
Watch,
right.
watch.
Don't
That's
worry
true, man.
about it. Don't worry about it.
Rick Brunson's salary be $30 million a year. Now, wait a minute.
Oh boy. Yeah, I don't think there's no contingency plans for Brunson asking for too much money. Brunson gets what Brunson wants. That's just that.
And I have no problem with that. By the way that man's playing, he can ask for whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Shit.
I
Yeah.
mean,
They should give him a raise mid contract. Be like, you know what, man, let's give you some more money, man,
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to ask you this about Bruce Brown, because I'm thinking the Knicks should be cautious, put some thought into who they use the 28 contract for. Like I feel like that's an asset for us, and don't just use it, in my opinion, for anybody. Like really think it through. So Toronto reportedly is asking for a quality player and a first round pick, and you can argue that doesn't include 20. um One is that, do you think that's 28 contract aside? Do you think that's too much for the Knicks to pay for Bruce Brown?
Uh, they said like unprotected. I think
They didn't say.
you
I
know what I
didn't
mean.
I
I
didn't
think
get any reports on the
those
top
those
type.
things those things matter. But let's say it's protected, and let's say it is Fournier. To me, I think it's not the risk that you're worried about, because number one, Bruce Brown's value as a player is going to be higher than Fournier's, and then his salary would just be replacing Fournier for another, you know what I mean, for another year. So to me, that risk only factors in if we're talking about second apron, and then you're talking about dollar for dollar salary match. To me, that's like that. Then it may factor in. But if you're replacing Bruce Brown with Fournier, Bruce Brown's money with Fournier's money, to me, it's the same value. It's actually more value. You're making, you know what I mean. You have more value than you did with Fournier, because you still have the expiring contract, but now you have the expiring contract with a player that has value. So you get the trifecta. You got the money match, the player that has value, and expiring contract.
Can I ask a question before we get really deep into this whole Bruce Brown thing? Where he gonna play?
Off the bench.
Off the bench? I mean, because if we taking away Fournier, who was getting 0 minutes, whose minutes you cutting to put Bruce Brown? Because Tom Thibodeau's not playing more than 9 guys, so
Well,
somebody's dropping off that roster.
Yeah, I think
that-
it's either
that
going to be
rotation.
Deuce or Grimes. I think it's Deuce.
yeah, and if Grimes is,
Deuce only playing 10 minutes, though. You're going to have to do more than Deuce. You're not
and
trading.
and if Grimes is included, then there you go. Like if Fournier is not the valuable player, and the valuable player ends up being Grimes, and Fournier is just the money matching.
So he'd play Grimes.
And again, I'm not a component of Fournier, Grimes, and a pick. You know what I mean? For Bruce Brown. Like now you're talking about too much of an asking price. Now we got to start looking at some of these other players. But if you know what I mean, if it's Fournier and we still keeping Grimes, I think Deuce is the guy that's out at that point, because Bruce Brown is a better defender, a better ball handler, but like he's better. He's just a better player. You know what I mean? He could play the point guard in that second unit without a problem. But yeah,
I would say Fournier's contract for a better player than Bruce Brown. And if that means that the Knicks,
that's with draft capital.
Right. If that means that the Knicks have to re-sign him, pick up his option, and go into next year, and so that they can have it over the summer, to go after whoever they want to go after, that's what I would do. Like I don't know. I just feel like it's a valuable asset to just use for Bruce Brown, even Brogdon. What's your thoughts on that? You guys feel like not so much,
but
that
it
you
would be the
mind
same asset, though, Queen. You wouldn't really be losing that because Bruce Brown would be the same contract value. So
and a better player,
and it would be in the same contract situation. So don't look at it like that. In fact, that's one of the appeals of acquiring Brown to begin with versus a player like Clarkson, because Clarkson's salary gets cut in half next year. So he would be much more difficult to put in a trade next offseason as compared to a player like Brown. So if it's Brown for Fournier, don't worry about the asset part. The worry about the asset part would be as if we don't trade Fournier at all, and then you would want to keep him versus losing him for nothing. That would be the only area.
Happen. And I think that's going to be malpractice.
Right.
And
but what I'm saying is if we're moving him, whether it be for Brogdon, whether it be for whomever, they
would have more value than Fournier. Yeah, fair point.
And they at a minimum are going to have that Fournier contract.
It's really about It's really about how many draft picks are being included in said player, whether it's Brogdon. For me, it's not about Bruce Brown. It's really about how many draft picks. You know what I mean? Whether it's Brown, whether it's Brogdon, whomever, because all those guys are better players than Fournier. So that's more valuable than Fournier. The money's going to be the same, if not a little bit more. So that's more valuable than Fournier. It's really about how many of our draft capital are we losing that we can't include later because we gave up already.
Well, Tone, let me say this. Let me say this.
Go ahead.
Let me say this and answer that. So the Knicks are not going to trade any of their own unprotected draft picks to get a player like Bruce Brown. They're just not going to do it. It's possible that they will trade this year's first round pick with lottery protections on it, similar to what they did in the Josh Hart trade last year, because then you're not getting into any stipend situations, because soon as the draft is over, you'll have your own pick again, and you can at that point trade the 4 picks and the 3 swaps for a star. They're not going to jeopardize the potential of using the 4 and the 3 in any deal for any of these guys. So what that means to me is that if you're talking about a couple of picks, you might be talking about you're probably talking about the Dallas pick, which is going to convey this year. in all likelihood. You might be talking about the Milwaukee Bucks pick. You might be talking about the Detroit pick or the Washington Wizards pick. Those would be the ones that you would be talking about as adding to a deal for a Bruce Brown or even a DeJounte Murray, I would imagine. Or in any of these trades, even Brogdon. I think if that's the first round draft capital that the Knicks are going to be willing to give up. I would be stunned if they did anything that jeopardized their ability to put in 4 first round picks and 3 pick swaps for a top 5 superstar, because I think that's still part of the overall game plan here, is to bring in that. I mean, I think this front office still has that in the back of their mind, whether it be this summer or what have you. They're not going to jeopardize that potential, because they are of a firm belief that something is going to shake out this summer, whether that be Donovan Mitchell or Joel Embiid, or who knows who else can
imagine Embiid leaving. I mean, I guess if they lose in the first round
exit.
Yeah,
first
the
round
same
upset.
Towns, if it's a first round exit, I guess. But D Block, 1755. The Bruce Brown and Alec Burks trade makes no sense. Neither one of these trades makes us that much better for what we will have to give up. Make it make sense. Your thoughts on that? You agree or disagree with that? Why or why not?
What would we have to give up for Burks?
That's what we got to clarify before the statement is accurate. Again, if I think Alec Burks, he's so high because I think the asking price won't be what it is. I think we could possibly do second round picks for him. I think we could give them back their own restricted pick for Burks. I think there's a lot of, like, his asking price shouldn't be anywhere near some of the other guys we've discussed.
I don't think it's going to be Burks. I don't think it's going to be Burks because I don't think his salary is large enough, like a Bruce Brown's or a Malcolm Brogdon, to really be included as a centerpiece of another trade, because I think he has an extra year on his deal. I could be wrong about that. Someone can check me on that, but I think I heard Jeremy Cohen talking about that today or the other day, that Burks has either an extra year on his deal or doesn't make quite enough money. I don't know if maybe he's in the $14 million instead of the $18 million, something like that, where he's not going to be the same piece to use in a deal for a bigger player like a Brown would be. So I would be really surprised if they brought back Burks for that reason.
Burks would be he would come up. It would be 2 players. Like, if you're doing a Burks trade, you still have the opportunity to get a second player over here. Maybe it would be Burks and then the big, right? If they go that route.
Burks and Brogdon.
I think they have the opportunity to pull off more than one trade, to be honest, if that's the direction they choose. But you're right.
For that bench, I think that bench needs 2 bona fide.
But I think there's 2 different things. One, there's a lot of trades we can make that could just solidify the team as is, and we continue to build. But if you're going under that preference that we got to make a trade and that guy has to be able to be used in the next one, that makes that restricts things more. So I think it's 2 different conversations.
I think that's how this front office is going to be thinking, though, Tony. I think that's the calculus that they've used nearly the whole time they've been here. If you think about all the moves that they've made and how they've structured their deals and how they've dealt with their draft picks, so I think that's very much, at the very least, in the back of their mind, but I would say in the forefront of their mind as they build this roster.
Even if it is, the other team has to agree to whatever they're trying to do. You know what I mean? They can have a vision, You know what I mean? So if what their plan is, what their ideal look is off the table, that doesn't mean they don't look to improve the team currently for this year. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't take I agree with you. They're looking for specific things. I agree, and they're looking for it with the future in mind. But if they can't pull that off, I don't think they stay pat. I think they still look to improve the current roster and this year's situation. They have
Yeah,
to.
because this is what seems tricky to me. I'm okay if the Knicks want to pass on an all-star type player this season. Let's say Levine becomes available, Murray, they want to pass on that to do something in the summer. And they just want to upgrade the second unit, bring in Burks inexpensively, bring in Brogdon inexpensive, Brogdon, whatever it takes. How you getting a star though in the off season if you can't? Maybe there's somebody out there that wants a Brogdon. You know what I mean? Like who? So now, if a star becomes available, now we talking Randall. Maybe they want Mitch or iHeart. You know what I mean? It just makes it harder if you don't have that player that somebody would want. But we'll see. We will see. But if you give me 2 bench players right now, at the very least, I'm satisfied for now.
Well, and to Tony's point, I think it could be 2 moves. I think you might see a move where we send Grimes somewhere to get someone who fits better with the second unit, and then have another deal where we send Fournier and some draft capital to somewhere else to get, somebody else. In other words, that to me that's a salient point from Tony there. I think that is a distinct possibility that they would be in 2 separate trades, assuming they don't have to include Grimes with, like, if you're trading for DeJounte, you may have to put in Grimes, and kind of like when we got OG, we had to include both Barrett and Quickly because that's what Toronto wanted, right? And so if you're going for a little bit bigger of a fish, you may have to use up both assets to get them, precluding yourself from making. In other words, if you're doing 2 smaller deals, you can probably get, you can do 2 separate deals. But if you're looking for one bigger player, then you're probably just gonna have
consolidate.
Right. Yeah, I saw that the Knicks were looking to move 48 Grimes and a pick. That's what they were shopping to see. What can they get for 48 Grimes and a pick? I don't know how true that is, but that's the report that
that's the only thing that makes sense in my eyes. Fournier, Grimes, and a pick for somebody. I don't know who that somebody's going to be. But
what else do we have to trade? Not anybody that we want to get rid of. I mean, think about it. They don't want to get rid of DiVincenzo. They don't want to get rid of Josh Hart. They don't want to they just got OG Anunoby. He's not going anywhere. They don't want to trade Brunson. They don't want to trade Randall. They don't want to trade Hartenstein.
They
can't trade Deuce. Right, exactly.
They can't trade Deuce
or Hart.
Right. Yeah, or Hart. And Mitch is
really
probably tough to trade with his injury too.
Precious and Flynn, I don't know what they make, but they could be included to boost some salary up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's true. I didn't think about that. That's another excellent. You're on fire tonight, Tony. That's another excellent. Precious and Malachi are
won't make his head.
Well, Malachi Flynn is probably salary filler is probably the best thing he is right now. If we're going to be honest, I mean that's probably. I mean, he's not going to see much court time. I can't imagine. And Achua, and Achua may be a player that you could combine with a pick to get a more established center that Queen is after. You know what I'm saying? You could, because he's young enough and he has, still some potential and some upside. You can, and if you kind of sweeten that with the protective first, I could maybe see us getting. I mean, I haven't looked at the specific names, but I could see that as being a deal that could get you a legitimate backup 5.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true, Eddie C. Precious and Flynn can only be traded by themselves, not aggregated with other players. I did read that as well.
How about
And
with
we
the
do
trade
have
exception?
some
We
traded
have
player
trade
exceptions too.
exceptions.
Two of them.
Two
Yeah,
of them.
both around 6 million, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
We talked about this on Tony's show. I don't know if you guys saw the video by Sean Marks, and he brought up how the issue with DeJounte Murray is that he's owed money past next season. And so that does impact the Knicks' flexibility. Because if you have him, then you sign Randall, you sign Brunson. If you decide you're going to sign iHeart and you don't move anybody, you could be at that second apron really quickly. And so that's the hesitancy with DeJounte Murray. If I could find the link, I'll drop it in the chat. But if you go to ESPN and you put in Bobby Marks, did I say Sean Marks? I meant to say Bobby Marks. Um, he does a trade show on, I don't know if he does it on every team, but he did one on the Knicks. And he said, for any playoff team, the Knicks have the best assets. So if the Knicks want a player, they can outbid any of the other playoff teams. They have the best assets.
Except
Obviously,
OKC.
except for OKC, right?
You know, I remember last year when Donovan Mitchell became available, they were saying the same thing. We had the best assets. You know,
Yeah.
Knicks can outmatch
But
everybody.
AJ, if the Knicks had wanted to complete that trade, we
They
could
could have.
have.
We
That's
did.
the thing. We did have the best assets. And if we had, for instance, if we had decided that we were going to give up Grimes and RJ, and I don't remember what the other deal was,
Mitchell
plus those
Robinson.
2 unprotected picks or 3, whatever it was that Ainge was asking for, Donovan Mitchell could have been a Knick right now. But I don't think the Knicks wanted to give up the unprotected picks plus Grimes plus they didn't want to give up for whatever reason. I'm not saying that that's right thinking. I'm just saying that that's what, the front office had the opportunity. And if they wanted to pull the trigger on that trade, they could have gotten it done. They chose not to.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, this is going to be interesting. But I do feel the Knicks are out there working, trying to make something. I'm looking at the chats. I'm trying to see if there's something there to ask the to ask the panel. When it comes to iHeart and I may be on an island by myself, I'm not letting him out the door. I feel like the Knicks lucked up on Brunson and iHeart, in my opinion, and I'm not letting him out the door.
I don't think the Knicks want to let him out the door either.
Yeah. So,
And because I'll say this front office did not draft Mitchell Robinson. Remember that. Mitchell Robinson, we got re-signed by us, but Mitchell Robinson, much like RJ Barrett, isn't really this front office's guys. I mean, they haven't been ultra loyal to the guys that they have drafted. So I don't think there's anything to say that they would be scared if they have a move in their back pocket where they can move Mitch, they're not gonna hesitate to do that. So I think the only person on the roster right now, other than the 2 guys who can't be traded till this summer, that's untouchable is Brunson. I think, and probably OG also, because I think the OG just fits so well with what they're doing. And I think they're going to extend him. But again, if OG was the cost of doing business to get, a superstar player in here, I'm not sure that he would still be in the door either.
yeah. I just like iHeart because he plays both ends of the ball, both sides of the ball. And particularly in the playoffs, you need players that can play both sides of the ball. And I think you're just more of a threat when you have a center who could play defense and play offense. And if I have a center who's a better defensive player, but offensively I'm not getting much other than the offensive rebounds. Don't get me wrong, that counts. Um, and you have to tend to them, you have to guard them, and that's going to create space for my best players. I'm going personally. I'm going in that route. But I want to bring this question by Navy Blue 76 because I've heard this around the chat just to get you guys' thoughts on it. Our current starting five is rolling. Why would you bring some ball hogging guard to mess with that? I think he's talking about
Murray.
uh, no. I think the conversation was Donovan Mitchell, but it could be Murray or it could be um, anybody. Just your thoughts on that because I've
I
heard
mean,
that a few times.
I've been on record. If it's about Mitchell, I get it because I that was my main, not even my main thing, but defensive liability and the fact, what I mean, like his size was my concern with Mitchell, not necessarily ball hogging. Um, but I get just the premise that the starting five is clicking. Why mess with it? I get that premise 100%. 100%. Like what is DiVincenzo lacking that he should be the guy expendable in this unit, right? Like I think he's given us more than what we've asked for or expected from him. And granted, like, he ain't giving us 30 points a game, but we never expected that. So, and if you bring a guy like Murray in, is he automatically gonna give us 20 a game? You know what I mean? Or does his numbers drop a little bit playing alongside Randall and Brunson? So I get the argument. My thing is, like you always say, Queen, just let's get better players in. If we're getting better players in, we'll figure it out. But we need to upgrade at the very least that second unit. If it's by bringing somebody in the first unit and then DiVincenzo goes to the second, it's still an upgrade in both. You know what I mean? So
Sometimes you making changes to make your team better, but it doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong with that particular player. Like there's nothing wrong with DiVincenzo. What DiVincenzo has done for this team and for this starting unit is beautiful. I just think if the Knicks are going to win a championship, you're not upgrading the one position, Brunson. There's been some rumors out there, but I don't think the Knicks are upgrading the four position. They gave up two players to bring in OG. I don't think they're upgrading the three position. The five position is not real unless you're bringing in Embiid or the Joker. The five position in the NBA nowadays, you just need somebody solid. So it's just process of elimination that if the Knicks are going to become a championship team, because in my opinion, they need another all-star type player. I believe in the duo of Brunson and Randall, but they're not, in my opinion, on the level of a Tatum and Brown. You can argue Tatum and I don't think they're on the level of a Tatum and Brown. I don't think they're on the level of a Giannis and Embiid. So I feel like their number three has to be better than those guys' number three. And the number three on our team, you can go back and forth between whether it's OG or you can even say offensively, Devo is our number three. I don't think that's going to be good enough to get us a chip. That's why I'm saying we need another All-Star. It has nothing to do with Dante itself as much as it has to do with we need a look at Milwaukee. They got Middleton. Look at Boston. They're number three. They got KP. Look at
so
Philly. Now Philly might have some problems in the playoffs because they got Embiid. Maxi is young. Their number three is Tobias Harris. You understand what I'm saying? Who is the Knicks number three?
so it don't
Like,
have to be a current all-star. It could be a past or future all-star. All-star caliber.
right. I just feel like that's just me. I feel like we need that. I feel like leaving Brunson and Randall out there by themselves with a Devo and OG who's going to play really good defense, but offensively, he just allows the game to come to him. On the second unit, we don't have an IQ type. So that's a lot of pressure, in my opinion, on Brunson and Randall.
What I agree with you, but what do you say to what if the front office thinks that those two guys are it, right? And it's really about the compliment around them. Maybe they, you know what I mean? Maybe
But I agree with you. I agree with that. But what's the level of the compliment around them? I believe in that duo. I've been on record. I believe in that duo. But I feel like their compliment might need to be a little higher than those other guys' compliment. That's my reasoning.
So you prefer to upgrade in the starting lineup and not the second unit per se?
Both. When you look at these teams, these contending teams, their third option is in the starting lineup. Middleton is in the starting lineup. KP is in the starting lineup. If you want to argue Drew is their third, but he's in the starting lineup. Tobias Harris is in the starting lineup. Michael Porter Jr., the third option on Denver, he's in the start. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I do. I'm just saying
they're in the starting lineup.
And the other thing is this: if you can make us, I'm just going to use Donovan Mitchell as example here. You make a Donovan Mitchell trade, you could probably keep DiVincenzo, and that strengthens your bench just because you have DiVincenzo on the bench now instead of who you had there before. And oh, by the way, it also takes a lot of the load off of Jalen Brunson because now he can play off ball some, and he doesn't have to carry the load every single possession because you have complementary offense at that point because both of those guys can run with it and both of them can shoot lights out. And so you become, and if you have OG who can shoot the corner three, and then you have Randall and Hartenstein, that becomes an impossible team to guard, right? And what we've seen from the last couple of champions, Denver in particular, was they were solid but not stupendous on defense. But when it came down to it, Jamal Murray and Joker were unguardable, right? That starting lineup had just too many weapons. They came at you. They were demon attack, right? They came at you.
I think it was more of the team, though. I think like they're the example where you got a 1-2 punch, and now the third option could be a different guy depending on what night it was. You know what I mean?
What I'm saying is you would have a 1-2-3
punch. Their shots though. Debo, I'm not trying to take anything away. Like, I think a lot of times when you say you want to upgrade a position, it comes across as if you don't appreciate what I think the fans is going to be sorely disappointed if we go into the playoffs with this. You can upgrade the bench if you want with this starting unit and expect OG or DiVincenzo to be the one if they take Randall out of a game or if they take Brunson out of a game. You gotta have somebody that can get you a bucket. And I'm not trusting OG. He has the skill set. I've seen him put the ball on the floor, pull up, but that's not he don't have, that's not him. And DiVincenzo, he can do it as well, and he has more of a confidence, but he not gonna be. I'm not trusting DiVincenzo to get me a bucket. If we need a bucket, he's a complimentary piece. You know, and listen, that's just my opinion. I know there's some who believe this starting unit has a championship ceiling. Leave them alone. They're playing well. It's just about the fit, and just bolster your bench. I just don't believe it. That's just me. I just don't believe.
And I'm not pushing back because I agree with you. I just feel like it I think the same could be said with boostering the second unit, especially if it's a guy that can play in the first unit as well. You know what I mean? So
your third best, if your third best player is coming off the bench, he's not your third best player.
Unless he's Manu Ginobili.
Unless he's Manu Ginobili. Right. If your third best player is coming off the bench, chances are he's not your third best player.
I mean, I felt like Quickly was our best player. Pre trade.
The Knicks didn't think so.
I agree. You're right.
The Knicks didn't think so. You know? Yeah, but again, that's just my I'm interested in you guys. Jeff, Ajay.
I don't know because see, to me, this is where OG Anunoby is so critical. He's so good at guarding the point of attack, and he makes the job of the five so much easier, right? Like that we've seen increase from Hartenstein. I can almost see a situation where you could get away with a small backcourt with those two. You could almost get away with a small backcourt, almost like Toronto was able to get away with their small backcourt when they won because they had Kawhi Leonard locking it down at the 3, and they had good rim protection from the 5, and so I can talk myself into that. Doesn't mean that it's right or even that it's smart, but I could talk myself into a starting 5 with Spida and Brunson back there because I just think it's so dynamic and so problematic. And then you have Anunoby who hits the corner 3 too. It's not like you can leave him open, right? But he doesn't require usage. And I think you open up the floor for Randall even further because you've got a guy who can basically 3-level scorer, right? He can do anything. It solves a bunch of your bench problems because you can play one of Brunson or you can have one of Brunson or Spida on the floor at all times, right? You don't have to rest them at the same time. You could always have that primary shot creator on the floor regardless of what unit that you had. And so and then you also still have your role players like Josh Hart and who's a good defender and Dante DiVincenzo, who's a good defender and a good shooter, and Deuce McBride. And so I don't know. I didn't like it before because we didn't have OG, but now that we have an elite all NBA defensive wing, I think that I think the pieces fit better than now, and that makes more sense now, at least to me. You can disagree with me if you want to, but I think the pieces make sense. They make sense in this feeble brain anyway.
I think you're onto something because I wasn't a fan of Donovan Mitchell as much before, but OG does change that perspective a little bit, and we still have good to elite rim protection at the center position. We just need to engage Randall at all times, and I think I agree. I could see that. That changes things. Can I ask you this? Do you think Spencer Dinwiddie would be an upgrade over DiVincenzo?
I don't think so. I just wanted to give Ajay a chance before we get to the Spencer.
No, please, let's not get into Spencer.
Did you want to answer the question about fit and
fixing things? I agree with Jeff. Listen, if we could bring Donovan Mitchell here, we bring him and we make it work. We fight. We do what we got to do to make it work. All right. And I felt that way when they missed out on him, when they were negotiating to get him here, and we figure out the rest. Okay. He would. I don't see why he wouldn't work with Bronson. Listen, that defensively will be a little bit challenged, but on offense, good luck trying to stop those guys. All right. I think it would have been a net positive. It would be a net positive if we get him over here. A lot of people, Queen, they like to say, and that's a reference to what we're talking about. I mean, same thing we're talking about. Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That doesn't work. All right. You got to try to look to improve at all time. That's the front office's job, to improve the team, make it better. No, it's not broke. Like, listen, in the beginning of the show we just mentioned we almost 10 games above 500. But if we could have been 15 games above 500, why not? It ain't broke, but so you have to fix it, but you have to try to improve it every step
That
of the
was the
way.
argument when Grimes was in the starting lineup.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not broke. Just leave it. They're playing together, and look what
No,
happened. You put Dante in there, and
yeah,
it went to another level.
exactly. Yeah,
You know,
the rotary phones worked, right? But it wasn't broke. But we made them better.
right?
We made them better to the point that they're not even here no more. You know what I'm saying? You got to try to improve at all time, at all. So yeah, we always we got to try to improve the
Yeah.
team. So
Shout
if
out to Josh. The current Knicks starting lineup is one of the best starting lineups in the NBA statistically. The contending team starting lineups are not better now from a statistical perspective. And I think the key word is statistical. So I hear you. You believe in this starting unit. I don't. And it's just as simple as that. I don't care about what the stats are saying about how we're playing now in the regular season. I don't trust not having that third guy, period, point blank. I just don't. And if you get a third guy and you elect to bring him off you, he better be a bona fide number 3, like a Manu Ginobili, who was clearly the third best player on that team, and they elected to bring him off the bench. Fine, but I don't care what this starting lineup is saying statistically. They're on a good roll right now. They're playing great right now. In my opinion, I don't think it has a championship ceiling, but we're all entitled to our opinion, and I get it. I appreciate the comment.
Queen,
Shout out to
we
you.
we have a third guy.
Um,
You just don't like the third guy that we have, right?
anyway, let's move on. Um, anything else on this? Oh, you was asking about Dinwiddie.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you would consider him a upgrade over
Nah, I wouldn't.
DiVincenzo or not.
I wouldn't.
I've never been a big fan of Spencer's game. He's a Nick killer, I know that, but I don't know how that does us any good if he's on our team.
Is he really a Nick killer?
Nah, he a bucket. I ain't gonna lie.
The
Like
last few times we played him, he ain't done nothing. I don't know the last
I
time.
wouldn't even say a Nick killer per se. He's killed us in the past, but he could get buckets. I think he actually is better suited as a 6-man though. I wouldn't. I agree. I wouldn't replace him. You know what I mean for DiVincenzo. I just wanted to see what y'all thought about that, but I wouldn't mind him in the second unit. I think he's a bucket getter. He could create for himself, others. I think that's his best role, 6-man.
I don't want him on this team.
Because he played for Brooklyn.
No, you can go back a little bit further.
He's better than what we have on the bench now. I mean, if you can get him for cheap,
No, I would.
I don't want to spend a bunch of assets to pick him up. But if you can get him for like a Fournier's contract and bring him in, I mean, yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, he solves a lot of the second unit problems.
Yeah, he don't want to play. He don't want to play for the Knicks anyway. He said as
True.
much in the past.
In the past, that was years ago. People
Queen,
say a lot of
you know,
things.
yeah.
And
I
in the
don't.
past,
I don't want him on this team. Keep moving.
I mean, he's just not. He's not shooting very well this year. He's just not a good. He's not an efficient shooter. Maybe he'll do better over here, but I don't see him. He's not the type of upgrade I'm looking. I'm looking for. On the bench, okay. Yeah, I mean, fine, fine, but he's not the upgrade I'm looking for. Queen, does the Rosen Burks and the 10-day yeah, definitely works with me. I mean, I wouldn't consider that championship ceiling stuff, but I love the Rosen Burks. I don't know what's up with Boogie. I haven't seen him, and I don't know what Boogie is doing.
He's a podcaster like us.
Oh, really?
Man,
And he's with Michelle Beadle
Oh, yeah.
and somebody else.
that ain't
But
right.
yeah, Ricardo, the Rosen and Burks sign me up. Sign me up.
Man, why Boogie Cousins? He got a podcast too. Why?
Yeah, because that's what you do when you retire.
No, can the little guys like us eat? Like these guys, they don't need the podcast. Like just
Hey,
leave it alone. Can that be our thing, man? Come on, man.
it's still content for us. You know, content off of content. I ain't mad at it. I am not mad at it.
Nah, I like Boogie Cousins.
And they
I don't
give
think we need to be dragging these
they
guys.
give
these guys
perspectives
into the-
that we don't normally get to hear. You know what I mean? So I think you gotta appreciate it. They ain't taking money out of our pocket. They giving us more things to talk about.
No, yeah, I appreciate it. I like like the Paul George, and I like those guys when they conduct the interviews. You're right. They do have perspectives that we would never think, because those guys, they've been in the in the trenches with the other guys, so they ask questions that we probably wouldn't even think to debate. So they'll do it. I agree.
Some big nights in the NBA. I think somebody put in the chat that Embiid had 70 and Cat had 60 something.
Yeah, Embiid he beat Wilt Chamberlain's number for most points in
What?
Philly.
Check that out.
70 and yeah, 62.
70 against the Spurs.
All right. We didn't talk about it,
big
but
number.
we didn't talk about RJ Barrett's and Emmanuel Quickly's return to Madison Square Garden Saturday in the beatdown by 26 points. I'll just say this. I thought the Knicks were a class organization, just during how they announced their names. Usually they're very flat when they announce the visiting team, and they were flat for the other three players. But IQ and RJ Barrett got their usual introduction. I thought that was a nice touch, and then the intro video was nice touch. The tribute video, I should say, and then the fans, welcoming them back. So it was yeah.
And Julius Randle's comments afterwards.
And Julius Randle's comments afterwards, I thought the Knicks was just class all around,
top to bottom, 100% agree.
Yeah. And anybody else? Any thoughts on their return?
I love the fact that they played that tribute video at the timeout, and IQ, you could see him closing his eyes, trying not to look at the screen, trying to contain his emotions. And I love the fact that they got the response from the Garden that they deserve. You know what I mean, for their time here. Love the fact that we won and they played well. You know what I mean. That was great. And I truly believe this was a win-win trade for both teams. 100%. Both teams and both players and all players. You know what I mean? I think RJ gets a chance to go home. IQ gets the chance to really establish himself as a starter. And we spoke about OG every day, so what he's brought here to the thing. I think he's plus 140 so far.
190, I read.
190. Yeah, it's almost like 20 a game.
Yeah. Well, it's been 11 games, so 190 sounds about right. That's insane.
Tony, was it really a win-win for Malachi Flynn?
He's
still in the league.
Yeah, it was.
Hey man,
he in New York.
I'm just messing with you.
He in New York.
Yeah, the Garden was on fire, man, and they got standing ovation for a few minutes, man. I mean, the Garden was on their feet for a few minutes, so it was definitely a class act. Good stuff.
Yeah, that's what Julius said. Knicks Nation 112 is not sold on OG. I believe OG is a good defender. I don't think he's an upgrade to RJ. I believe it's easy to get a bunch of defenders, but the front office set up RJ and IQ to fail. They're not going to get it. Well, so they're going to get punished. So now we can't get us, even if that is true. What, we're not going to get a star because what?
I think he's severely underrating Anunoby's defense. Anunoby is an elite wing defender who can guard 1 through 5 at a super high level. Those don't grow on trees, especially ones that can shoot 50% from the corner 3. I don't see how you can look at what we were doing before the trade and what we're doing after and say that Anunoby is not a better fit at the 3 spot than RJ Barrett. I mean, if you want to make the argument that in a vacuum one player is better than the other and say that RJ is better, then that's fine. I don't want to get into that discussion. I'm not an RJ Barrett hater. I think the move to Toronto is going to work wonders for his career. I think he's going to do big things in Toronto. I think it's a good fit for him. But to say that adding OG Anunoby didn't improve this team immediately, even with the loss of Quickly, I think is covering your eyes because you like number 9 and number 5 too much. Much respect. I mean, you're entitled to that opinion, but I just don't see how you can see what OG Anunoby has done and how the defense has gone from the worst in the NBA to the best in the NBA since his arrival. And that's not just a defender. Like, to say that is disingenuous to Anunoby and the impact that he's had on our team since he's been here, in my opinion. He's not just a defender. He's a great defender, and he's exactly what this team needed.
And he allows Randall and Brunson to take their rightful place in terms of usage. Because in my opinion, RJ got forced usage. Like, he just should not have had the usage that he had, but he just demanded the ball, demanded to have the ball in his hands. And with him gone, everybody could take their rightful place. With Randall and Brunson, the head of the snake, they're the ones with the usage because they're the best with the ball in their hands, and everybody else just falls in line behind them. So,
but
yeah.
No, I was gonna say, does that comment? The comment, is it like, okay, say he's not sold on OG? Or is he like?
Let me see if I can find it. It might still be under the starred. No,
he just want to be cautious about it because listen, it's still early. It's been 11 games, but
11 games.
11 games. So I think we probably should be
Oh, this is it. He doesn't think he's an upgrade.
Oh no, he is an upgrade to RJ.
What I'll say is I think RJ is a better all-around player. I think OG is a better all-around fit. And I also think OG impacts winning more for this team. RJ might impact winning more for Toronto, but I think OG impacts winning more on this team. It's kind of like the same effect Josh Hart gave when he got here. It wasn't like he was scoring 30 points, 20 points, you know what I mean? But he was impacting the game and in a positive.
Yeah. I think OG is a better all around player than RJ in my opinion. RJ wasn't a good 3-point shooter. RJ was an elite driver. He didn't finish at the rim very well. He didn't hit the mid range, very well. He wasn't a good defender. He did a great job getting to the line. He was an okay rebounder. He wasn't I just think OG is a better all around player than RJ Barrett. The way he reads the game, cutting to the basket, taking shots off the dribble, driving into the key and drawing a defender and hitting. He just knows how to play. Now, he doesn't have the power that RJ Barrett has. And I was telling somebody he's spending more time on the floor than Mitchell Robinson. So he doesn't play with that type of power, But again, he doesn't force it like RJ Barrett forced it. RJ Barrett forced things.
At least when he's on the floor, Queen, he come up with the ball. He come up
Yeah,
with some possession. You know what I
that's
mean?
true. That's true.
Like he don't let go of that ball. I'm a go. I'm a fall. I'm gonna take the ball with me.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, uh, and Josh was first on this. I wasn't that far behind. I might have been another year behind Josh. RJ Barrett underachieved as a top three pick. Top three pick. It's about time we admit that. Um, he's doing better in Toronto, and like he said, he said that he's not a player that can stand in the corner. He said that the offense in Toronto works better for him, than the offense in New York. But this is what I'll say. Your offense is always going to be geared around your best players. That's just a fact. Look at what Mikal Bridges is doing in Brooklyn. You think he just got that skill set in that game when he got to Brooklyn? No, he had it in Phoenix, but that wasn't his role. That offense was built around Booker, and was KD there then?
No, he was traded
No, they
for
were
KD.
traded for one
He was part
another.
of the trade for KD.
Yeah, it was
Booker,
built around whoever it was built around.
Chris Paul,
Aiden.
DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, Chris Paul and Mikal Bridges was to play defense and hit the open three. But he had game though. Didn't just show up because he went to Brooklyn. That's just how it is. So now when you go to Brooklyn and now he's the number one or number two option, he can show more of his game. Same thing with Harden when he was in OKC. You could show more of your game. So I'm not going to sit here and say the Knicks offense was holding RJ Barrett back. They built the offense around Randall and Brunson as they should have.
To me, like it's the same thing, but it's not the offense that was affecting RJ. It was the construction of the roster that was affecting RJ. You know what I mean? A lot for a long time, whether I didn't agree with it, but a lot of people, I mean, people just said it had to be RJ or Randall. One had to go. So even if not saying I would have liked them to choose RJ over Randall, but I feel like even if that was the flip, we probably would have seen an improvement in the spacing and the way things looked with RJ next to OG and not Randall. Not saying it would have been as good. I'm saying it probably would have looked better than it did because of the spacing. So part of it is the construction. I didn't like to admit it, but I think that's one thing I could admit now. It RJ and Randall really didn't fit perfectly. So I think he'll like he's saying, I think he'll fit better in Toronto. He'll be able to play his game. It won't be as it won't look as forced because it'll be more spacing for him.
Knicks Nation, it's okay. You reminded me of DJ Shuttle maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We have no future with this team. Yeah, we do. We're gonna be fine. There's some more things that we have to do. As Josh pointed out, this starting unit statistically is playing the best right now. So I wouldn't say we have no future, but we got
Yes,
some
we have
things that
all
we
our
need
own
to
things
do.
for the next 9 years.
And we're 9-2 since the OG trade with wins over Philadelphia and Minnesota.
And how many games did we lose with Brunson out? Like, so we lost 1 or 2 games without our full lineup.
Yeah,
If you
we're
want
gonna
to
be
count that
okay,
in there.
family. We're gonna be okay. Most high, RJ was held back in favor of Randall, as always happens with your best players. You have your best players, and everybody else have to fall in line and play a role. That happens on every team in the NBA. Every team. I wouldn't say held back. I would just say after your first two players, everybody else have to play a role, even if you have more game than that. If
Look,
RJ was better than Randall, Randall would have been playing that role, even if he had more game. We blew the Obi pick because we didn't want Randall drafted. Because we
'cause we
didn't
didn't
want
want Randall.
Randall, drafted Obi, and passed on a Hall of Fame point guard.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Halliburton.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's kind of
I mean,
early, but yeah.
Okay.
But I hear you.
I think they're calling it the Hall of Fame nowadays. Actually,
oh yeah.
Oh boy.
Hey, don't be giving them no ideas over there in Indiana.
oh sorry,
Or copyright it first so you get paid.
I don't want to get paid for that.
Just saying.
All right.
I know what you're saying. You can copyright it. I'll give you permission.
Anything else is anything else about trade targets? Anything else before we move on to our upcoming games? All right. All right. All right. So we got Brooklyn Wednesday. They're 17-25. We got Denver Thursday. They're 13. Well, let's do it this way. 17-25. They lost their last game. They're 11th in the Eastern Conference. We've played them once and beat them. Denver, we play Thursday. It's not Tuesday. It should be Tuesday and Thursday. Sorry about that. They're 30-14. They've won their last two. They're third in the Western Conference. We haven't played them yet. Miami 24-19. They've lost 3 in a row. They're sixth in the Eastern Conference, and we're 1-0 against them. Offensively, Denver is the best of the bunch at 17th. Excuse me, at 7th. They're ranked 7th in offensive rating. The Nets are ranked 15th. Miami is ranked 20th. Defensively, Miami is 10th. Denver is 11th. Brooklyn is 19th. And net rating, that's 6 for Denver.
And
The
Queen, you
Knicks, I
said
would have
we're,
to go
we're
back.
17th in offensive rating. The Knicks is. I think
No. That was on. Let me see if I can find the slide. That was 17th for the week.
Oh,
I think I have it right here. On the season, we're 9th.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah. And defensively on the season, and there was a few weeks we were like 28, 29,
Right before
27,
the trade,
somewhere
we were
in
the
there.
worst in the NBA, and we were all sitting here thinking, "What's wrong with our defense?"
Right. And our net rating was 7th overall, and this past week we're 2nd. Statistically, the Knicks,
We looking like one of them teams, Queen.
yeah. And I hope I'm wrong. Like if the Knicks are only able to fortify the bench, I'm wrong. Listen, this is one thing I will say about this team, though. This is a team. If we get some bench, I feel like we got to strengthen the bench some. If we did nothing, let's say we didn't get that third All-Star, and we upgraded our bench. On paper, you could say this is not a championship contending team, but I would like that team's chance of getting hot. That team would have a good chance of getting hot and getting to the Eastern Conference Final.
A puncher's chance for
A
sure.
puncher's chance. That's right.
Just like
We would have a
Miami.
puncher's chance, but I still think we would need to fortify that bench.
Like Miami got hot last season.
Correct. Miami got hot last season.
And it's one of those things where I think all of us in the chat is also are in agreement. We all want to build a championship contender. That's not to say that can happen overnight. It may be we fortify the bench first, and
Correct.
then we're able to go out in the summer and make that next acquisition that gets us, you know what I mean? It may be a 2-step process and maybe a year and a half, incoming so we can finally get the right mix of players in here to make that happen, because it's hard to make that last step, that leap, that last, because we're already a very good team. I mean, we were on 48 win pace at the 42 win, 41 game mark, and we've won both of our games since in the second half so far. So we're on about a 50 win pace, which is ahead of last year. So, from that standpoint, I think it's encouraging. Then the Knicks are in a good place. I don't get the doomsday woe is me stuff. I think
the Knicks are close.
I think that we've got a really good team. We're not a championship level team. I think we can all agree on that. But I think I think if Philly slips, we have a shot at being a third seed. I honestly believe that. Of course, if we slip, we could be an 8th too. But
sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
If we slip, we could be an 8th too. But because they're so bunched up from 3 to 8. But I like the trajectory of this team. I like where we're headed, and it's tough to judge right now because we feel incomplete because we are incomplete, and I think that the front office knows that. I think we're going to make one move, at least maybe two, to bolster that bench now and give us some strength and then this offseason we'll see if we can improve the team even further. But I'm having so much fun with this season. We're 26-17. I remember over half the seasons it felt like this century we didn't even win 26 ball games the whole year. So we're at 26 wins after 43 games. Let's just enjoy it, guys. Let's not we want to get to a championship and there are paths to get there, and it's fun to talk about all that stuff, but be positive about your team. Enjoy this group. They're a lot of fun to watch.
They are. They definitely are. Crazy Fan 2000. This team, the way it's constituted right now, can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals if they can add some punch off the bench. The Knicks could be scary. I think they would have a puncher's chance. I think you're right. I think they would have a puncher's chance. I wouldn't look at them on paper and say this is a championship contending team, but I think they would have a puncher's chance if they upgraded the bench. My concern is in the playoffs, the intensity of the playoffs makes it difficult for some players to score. Really makes it difficult. And we only have 2 players that can create their own shot. I think Devo a little bit, OG a little bit, but I wouldn't call their number though.
2 players.
2 players. I wouldn't call their number, right?
Yeah.
So
it's 2 players.
Yeah, that's it. But I'm with you, Jeff. I enjoy watching them. Play. All right. So we did that. Let's just take a look at some of the starting lineups. This was the last game they played. So Spencer Dinwiddie, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Nick Claxton. So they're pretty healthy, except for Ben Simmons, who's been out since November. Jamal Murray. Yeah. For Denver, Jamal Murray, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic. So they're healthy. Right? Miami. Oh my God. Miami, every time you turn around, one person comes back, somebody else goes out. Jimenez, their rookie, went out. Here come Butler coming back. It's been a injury mess over there. But Tyler Hero, Khalid Martin, Jimmy Butler, Nikola Jovic. Get it right. Nikola Jovic. I hope I pronounced that right. And Bam Adebayo. Any particular matchup you're looking to see between a Knick and go ahead, Tone?
Out of these games?
Yeah, out of these games.
Forget the individual man-to-man matchup. I can't wait to that Miami game.
Yeah.
I want to see what OG's presence looks like against the team that kicked our butts in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it's regular season. I think we swept Miami last year, right? Before the playoffs.
No, we didn't sweep.
We won the series.
We went 3-1 on them.
Okay, so I get it. It's still regular season, but that's what I'm looking for. I want to see what kind of impact his presence makes against them. The other 2 games, I think they are what they are. I think we should beat Brooklyn, and Denver's gonna be tough. But we in New York, we not in Denver, so maybe we could have one of our best performances and knock them out too. But yeah, Miami's the one for me.
Okay. Um,
For me,
Anybody else? Either team wise or individual matchups, whichever one you want to choose.
team wise, I want to see how we handle Denver in adversity. How we handle the adversity if Isaiah Hartenstein don't play.
Mm.
Like, what do we do? You know what I'm saying? Like, when somebody goes down, do we really have that next man up mentality to come in and punch him in the mouth? That's what I want to see. Miami, I don't even know. I mean, this is what the starting lineup looked like now. I don't know what it's going to look like by the time we played him. He may be a couple of other guys from the corner store that we've never seen before. So I don't know. So I can't really tell what Miami is. But yeah, Denver, I want to see what we do when we're not full strength, and how do we play against the defending champions.
We were the only team who didn't lose to them last year.
Say that again.
We were the only team that didn't lose to Denver last year.
Correct. That's right. After they owned us for the previous years, after they beat the hell out of us. A couple of years before that, the few years before that.
I think Joker didn't play in that game in Denver, but still.
Yeah. I want to see the Miami game. I want to see this new look Knicks with OG against all of the Eastern Conference teams. Miami, I want to see us against Boston again, Milwaukee, Orlando. Where are we now? We didn't look that great against Orlando. Did both Randall and Brunson play in that game?
Brunson was out in the Orlando game, I'm pretty sure.
All right. So next time around. Any predictions? Oh, let me just put this up real quick. Oh man, I can't even see it. Can y'all see that?
I can't see it, but my eyesight's bad. So
okay.
I
So the Knicks
I
are
gotta
in,
blow it up. I blew it up on my screen to see it.
okay. The
Can't see
Knicks
it.
are in.
Kind of know what it is.
Yeah, the Knicks are in 5th place in the Eastern Conference, 26-17. They're a half game behind Cleveland and 2 games ahead of Miami for now. I tell you, from 4 through 9, it's a dog. It's a dog fight. I don't know. Should we put Chicago in there?
No, they 6 games behind Cleveland.
Okay.
That's
All right.
we could throw Philly in there, 3 through 8, though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't trust Philly in the playoffs. Like
Man,
they got Maxey who's playing great, don't get me wrong, but still this would be his first time in the playoffs being counted on like this, right? As the
really?
second best player.
Seriously?
And
Seriously, Queen? Maxey playing great. Joel Embiid just scored 70 points, and you worried about Maxey playing great.
I was gonna say 70 points aside. This is by far Embiid's best year. Like
I understand, but he
seems to
can't do it alone in the playoffs. So I'm just saying Embiid is going to be there no matter what. Well, you know
But
what? That's
part of
even
it,
questionable.
yeah, that's what I mean.
That's
Part of
even
it,
questionable.
that's part of it is he hasn't showed up at the end of games and
That's
in the
true.
biggest moments.
You're right.
So I'm just saying he looked different this year. You know what I mean? Granted, it's still a regular season. It's not the playoffs yet, but he looked like he's on one of those missions. You know what I mean? Like he knows what's at stake, and he probably knows. You know what I mean? If it don't go well, what the alternative is. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So he want to give it his all before he leave.
And he will, but the thing about it is he needs help, and he's counting on Maxey as his number 2, who's playing well in his own right, but this would be his first time in this position in the playoff. I'm just saying about what could happen in the playoffs. And then their third best player is Tobias Harris. So I think the Knicks, the Knicks might have a puncher's chance if they were to come up against Philly in the playoffs. Yeah.
You think they're looking to make a move? Because I mean, Tobias Harris is kind of. I mean, he's not there.
That's what I'm trying to say. If Tobias Harris is your third option, I mean, I think that he would be considered the third option, right?
He's suspect.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm liking the Knicks chance if we meet Philly.
I'll go a step further than that. I think you want to avoid the 4-5 matchup altogether because that's going to mean playing Boston in the next round if you advance. I think you're better off being a 3-6 and taking your chances with Philly in the first round and not have to play Boston until the finals if you want to look big picture.
Yeah, my only thing against that is I'm letting the chips fall where they fall. So I'm never trying to position myself.
I'm not trying to get to a spot either. I'm just saying you might be better off. All I'm saying, you might be better off. I'm not targeting. Yeah, I agree with you. Get as high a seed as you possibly can get. I'm not get to the 3 seed if you can get there. Get to 4 or 5 if you can get there. I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of things, if you did fall to 6, it might not be the end of the world. That's all the only point I was making. But I agree with you, Tony, 100%.
Not me. I'm looking for the favorable matchup.
But how do you get there? You don't go in the locker room and be like, "Oh, look." So
I don't know. At the end of the season, if you win that last game, it puts you against. You win that last game, it puts you on the path to meet Boston, or you lose it, puts you on the other path. I might sit out Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson. I might rest him.
You know what that does? That motivates the team you want to face anyway. Yeah. So now they looking at you like, oh, okay, you thought we was chumps. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And the message it sends to your own team too.
Yeah.
What you trying to say? We can't beat Boston.
And the basketball guys, they frown upon
basketball guys. Because who did that?
I forgot.
Milwaukee did that and lost to Miami that year.
Yeah, first one.
They did. They did not do that.
They did.
Didn't. No, they didn't.
This was a few years.
Just so happened.
Yeah.
Not 2 years. 2 years. No, not last year. Like
not
3 years ago.
No,
3 years ago.
Yeah.
3 seasons ago.
Yep.
Right. I believe they wanted to match up with Miami, if I'm not mistaken.
The Charlotte Hornets did it against us many years ago, and we waxed them in the playoffs.
You know why? We were motivated. Oh, y'all want to lose and face us?
Bring it. So yeah,
Phil Jackson did that all the time. Yeah, well, Phil Jackson was a basketball guard. Phil Jackson had Kobe and Shaq. And, you know what I mean? I don't think we're there yet.
That's funny.
I don't think we're there yet. All right. Predictions for.
I'm sorry, Queen. He became a mere mortal when he got to New York, though.
As most players and coaches do when they get to the Knicks.
Not mortal. He became a villain. Like, get that guy out of here, kind of. We don't want him here no more.
Right. Somebody's not depressed. We're going to be 2024 NBA champs. I'm calling it.
From your lips to God's ears, Almighty.
Yeah.
I love the confidence.
I say we're 2-1. I don't think we get the Denver game. I say we're 2-1.
2-1. I don't know which 3 we're going to get, but I'd say we're going to go 2-1.
I think we win all 3 games one at a time.
Okay. All right.
There we go. I like that confidence.
Can you guess what my prediction is?
3-0.
Thank you. I always think we're going to win every game. Unless proven otherwise.
Well, that's because he's coaching from his couch, so he knows.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's exactly right, Jeff.
Oh, boy.
You guys in the chat, you had to be here from the beginning to get that one.
Right. We might not have even been on air.
the
Oh,
behind the scenes.
that's a fact. That's a fact.
All right. Just want to go through our list of family of shows: pregame, postgame, the shoot around with Simeon Russell, the creator of the channel, the NBA wrap up on Thursdays with Ron of Still Nick Fans, the controversy with Josh, aka Uncle Fulio. Make sure you have your notifications on so you'll know when his show comes on. The Losers Lounge after every Knicks win or most Knicks wins with Tony Crow of Knicks and Bruises. Live shows and videos by International Andy. Got some special news coming soon. And Queen's Court every Monday, 8:30 with yours truly, Dope Soul Sports Talk. Those who don't know, I have my own channel. Search for it, Dope Soul Sports and Knicks Talk. Subscribe to the channel. We go live every once a week. And we've moved to Fridays because the Knicks have a lot of games on Thursday in January and February. Special programming and events by Simeon Russell. Another shout out to DJ Shuttle, who usually rocks with us on Mondays, but he has his own. He's on IG now, Mondays at 8 p.m. on Instagram every Monday. So check him out there. And then also Fridays on 108 Soul from 8 to 10. Check out DJ Shuttle.
All aboard.
All aboard.
Queen, shout out to the chat. Of course, was on fire, but y'all not hitting that like button. And make sure y'all hit that like button on the way out at least.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
At least on the way out. There's like 215 people, only 120 like, man. Let's get that thing up to 200 before we get out of here.
Yeah, no doubt. Where we at now?
120. A mere 120, man. We had like almost 260 people at some point watching.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate you
Hey,
guys.
if you're not gonna support that way, support through
yeah.
Cash App.
Yeah,
and
let me.
PayPal.
I forgot the banner. I actually have a banner, Tony. Okay. Support the channel. The channel has been demonetized. So if you were a member, you save $15 for the 3 months. That $5 didn't come out of your account. No super chats. Support the channel. Cash App, Nothing But Knicks, or PayPal.me/Nothing But Knicks. Support the channel. Hopefully be up and running by the end of this month, February, the latest. Ajay, you wanted to say something?
No, I think Jeff was gonna say something.
I just said hopefully it'll be up soon. Thanks a bunch, Queen. You host us with the mostest as always. Tony, always a super pleasure. You always bringing it. And Ajay, my guy, always fun to chop it up with you, my guy.
Yes, and he was on time.
I was on time. Yes.
And Queen's Ladies Night. Let them know Ladies
Oh
Night.
yeah. Wednesday, ladies' night is gonna be me, Lady and the Chef from Two Knicks Chicks. Not sure if her mom is going to be on. Also, we got Ebony from Nick of Time Show and Venture Sports Network. She'll be with us. Chris Willard actually will be out. She had a loss in her family.
Prayers.
My condolences to you, sis. But she says she'll be on the show Wednesday, and hopefully Tsunami can join us. So Dope Soul Sports and Knicks Talk, have your notification on Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. all female panel talking Knicks.
And I know, Queen, you already mentioned all the shows on NBK. If you haven't checked out the Losers Lounge, please do. I find that show like really funny. It's real hilarious. When you read other fan base perspective, after each loss, it's funny how they very similar to what we do here. But we had no idea. At least I had no idea that they were that harsh on their teams. So we're not the only passionate ones about our team.
Have you ever did a Losers Lounge after we lost and see what the Knicks fans had to say about the loss? Because we be going in too.
We've done it twice, but the problem is the post game show ends up feeling like the Losers Lounge anyway.
Oh, that's true.
You know what I mean?
That's
So it's like, and depending on how bad the loss is, you know what I mean?
Right,
We ain't trying
that's
to
true.
relive it twice.
That's true.
It's not as much fun when you're not dancing on someone else's misery.
Yeah, That's a good point.
Bro,
Well,
we
anytime.
definitely tried it out, Queen. We tried it out. It's like, all right, this is too much.
Okay. Well, at least this ain't that 17 win season. You know?
Right?
So,
Right?
got a lot of
Oh.
shows.
Well, like I keep saying, I want 50 losers lounges this year. So
Yeah.
let's
No
do it.
doubt. Yep. Jeff, Tony, Ajay, appreciate you guys. Everybody in the chat. Sim, I appreciate you for the opportunity. Until next time, fam.